Hey Amanda, nice to have you today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So I know we both work with VIA, but I don't know I don't know too much about you. We've just talked a little bit in the chat. So why don't you tell me a little bit about how you came to join VIA?
I've followed VIA for quite a while, and there came a point where I think Logan just kind of reached out to me about being a team member and creating some memes basically and whatnot. And the mission of VIA is something that I've felt very passionately about for a long time. So I'm glad that you guys brought me on.
Fantastic. We're happy, very happy to have you. And you do make some awesome memes. You and DJ are fantastic on that. And so, talk a little bit about this new fundraiser that we're starting to help. Well, a lot of our fundraisers, focus on disasters or kids in need, but this one specifically on adults and even more so on elderly folks. So, tell us a little bit about what was the idea behind that?
I'm in a small rural community, and I have a girlfriend here whose grandmother was turning 99, and she's essentially been on lockdown the whole time from COVID. She hasn't been able to see her grandmother except for through a glass window. Um, Funny thing is, she tested positive for COVID and was totally asymptomatic, not showing any symptoms at all, and then got vaccinated, and she became deathly ill, and that was the only time that the facility said you need to come see her now. And she went through that fine. She survived, she's okay now, but she became so ill that they finally got to see her. So she's turning 99 the other day, and they organized this huge drive-through where basically people in the community can come wave at her through the window, and there were hot rods and balloons and cookies, and we made cards and everything. But it's just sad that so many of these elders are, I don't want to say forgotten, but not a top priority to a lot of people. It's kind of like they're tucked away, out of sight, out of mind. And especially with the COVID lockdown, they've been separated from their families. And that plays a huge role in their mental health, and, as well as the family members.
Wow. I was just thinking as you were talking about it, like everything, it all seems so backward. Like, no, you can't see anyone, even though you seem perfectly healthy. Can't see anyone until you're almost dead from the thing we gave you to try to stop you from getting sick. I've had that happen to people that I work with too. They test positive and they're perfectly fine, then they get the shot and they feel like they're going to die. They're better in a couple days, but
Sure.
they're all young people that I work with, and some older folks I know have not been so fortunate. But
Yeah.
and especially the part at the end, like I see where they were coming from. Like let's try to do this nice thing for this lady, but it, when you can't actually talk to someone or they won't let you, and you have to go to this roundabout thing, it's just like at what point do you not see the ludicrousness of what you're doing? That's just
And physical contact, I mean, just something as simple as a hug. Like, humans are designed for that connection. And exactly, staying behind a glass window to view your loved ones and having to talk on the phone is just not the same. And it's been really hard for her whole family to go through this past year like
yeah,
that.
I believe it. Especially when it's so. I mean, what she's 99 years old, you say?
Yeah, I just turned
That's
99.
uh, all of this stuff right towards the end. That's just crazy. But and then your idea is, in her case, I think is extraordinary because probably of her age, the whole community kind of gathered around her. But
Hmm.
there's a lot of people who are, in late 60s, 70s, 80s, who they don't have extraordinary age for our time, so they just kind of languish. And it's weird because people they they say they think about them, but I don't think they really consider them. Because one of the things behind all of this um, virus stuff has been, oh, we got to protect the elderly and people at risk, but it stops there, just keeping them alive. And thinking
Yes.
about that lady, not seeing your family, not seeing your grandchildren, alone all day in your room in the elderly care facility. What kind of life is that?
Yeah, I mean, they've
What are you
essentially
alive
shut
for?
down a lot of the community exercises and things that they do, like the community group area, the recreation areas are were off limits for a long time. I'm not sure if they open back up, but thousands and thousands of these adults in care across the country are experiencing this. And their families too. And then not just the seniors, but there's adults in care facilities that can't take care of themselves, disabled adults, and I think it's just a thing that's kind of, I don't want to say glossed over, but a lot of people just kind of don't think about that, unless it affects them personally.
Mhm.
And actually the biggest need that I'm finding as I'm calling out to these facilities is hygiene products. And it's up to the families to disperse these hygiene products, and they're not getting there in a timely fashion. And so the facilities are trying to make up for that.
Mm,
Besides, the arts and craft supplies and whatnot. But
okay. So then that's, of course, we're asking for typically monetary donations
mhm.
from supporters of VIA and our campaigns. So you mentioned hygiene products and like art supplies. Where's this money going to go towards? How is it going to help these folks?
Well, I mean, just basic hygiene supplies, shampoo, soap, lotions for their dry skin and whatnot. That's going to be huge for them. The facilities are the ones I've talked to are having a hard time staying on top of that. I don't know if it's a budget issue or what it is, but they're getting low on supplies. So
That's really weird. You think that would be the kind of thing that
they
like that they
supply.
would supply as just part of their services, but I guess not. I guess
Yeah,
I'm used to working in a
toothpaste.
hospital where they do all that stuff, but a hospital and an elderly care facility are not the same thing. So, huh. And then you mentioned like, art supplies.
Yeah, things to occupy their time, keep them busy. Obviously the seniors would have different things they'd like to spend the money on, different crafts than the adults and disabled care, or the disabled adults in care, I should say. Um, that dog going crazy.
It's
Told
all
you they're
good.
reactive. um, but yeah, different beading supplies, paint. They do a lot of the facilities do a lot of rock painting, and then they'll go out to the garden and place the rocks and stuff like that. So
Hmm.
paintbrushes, different paints, um, word searches, things to kind of keep them busy.
Hmm. So it sounds like this one is a little bit different. A lot of our fundraisers are towards meeting like emergency needs, trying to be stopgap measures, keep people alive, help them out of certain situations. But this, it seems more like enrichment.
Yes, absolutely. Mental health and then with the hygiene supplies, I mean, that's something that every person should be able to access.
Mm,
Um, I don't know exactly why they're having issues supplying those, but I didn't dive into that.
mm. I think it's I think it's important, like you say, it's something that's often forgotten. Like people don't think beyond nowadays, like number of cases or number of deaths, and if you're not dead and you're not infected, then that's okay. But there's a lot more to life than that, and I think it gets forgotten in the
Absolutely.
craziness of today's world. So,
Yeah.
and these people especially, they can't go out and just purchase something from the store. And
Hmm.
the elderly folks, either they're afraid of getting sick, the facilities won't let them out, and people who are disabled in care, they can't get things for themselves, most of them. So definitely a need here, and one, like you said, often forgotten.
Yeah, they're 100% relying on others, so I think it's really important for communities to, if you're called to reach out to some of these facilities and see what you can do, even. Granted, there won't be any visits. I know a lot of places have volunteers that come and visit them, and um, there's just so much more. This pandemic has taken such a different toll on people, and a lot of it is a mental health thing and a heartbreak.
Hmm. That's very true. Now, one thing I thought was interesting about this is a lot of our fundraisers and campaigns that we do are precipitated by some kind of disaster. Oh, there's the winter freeze down in Texas, there's a hurricane, tornadoes. But this one was quite a bit different because this virus stuff has been going on, of course, for a while. And it wasn't an idea that one of the board members came up with. This was your idea, right?
Yes, it was my
Okay,
idea.
so tell us a little bit about how that came to be, how you got this idea off the ground.
Um, like I said, I've watched. It's something I've always been very passionate about is adults in assisted living. I have some deeply personal reasons for that, but watching my girlfriend here with her family, and the stories of only being able to visit through the window, and I went down and the whole community was there, but it was just all through this glass window, and I just can't help but think about all the people that are essentially locked away for their safety, but they're struggling with depression and missing their loved ones and not having that human interaction.
Hmm. Wow. So I think that's really neat. Personal reasons. You felt compassion for these people, felt the pain of their situation, and you wanted to do something about it, so you did.
Absolutely. And something I'm really passionate about is mental health awareness and watching the rising suicide rates in children and adults and teens throughout this pandemic, and that's something that I don't think we talk about very much. But if you look at the rates over the past year, things have just skyrocketed. And I think it's very important that we care for our communities' mental health just as much as we do um, any other way we would care for them.
Mm. That's really that's really profound. And I think your story is really neat, and the story of VIA generally, because one thing I think that's gotten a lot of people in this is the feeling of helplessness. Like, oh, there's nothing I can do. This is so big, so beyond me. But you see a need, and you saw something you could do, and now we're putting on this fundraiser to help people. And I think that not only helps people directly, but also shows that you're not powerless. You don't have to sit around waiting for someone in Washington to come and help you. You can go
Absolutely.
out on the street, help people yourself.
Yep. Yep. And you can do it without anybody telling you to, and that's what freedom is being able to choose how to love.
I really like that. That's a great way of putting it. Fantastic. Anything else you'd like us to know about this VIA fundraiser, about yourself?
I'm stoked about it. I'm really excited about this, and I hope that we can make some people smile and feel good about themselves. And I'm really grateful that you guys chose to pick this one up. So thank you.
Well, thank you for thinking of it and for putting in the determination to get it off the ground. I know you did a lot of work behind the scenes on that, so we're all really excited about it. All right, well, thank you very much, Amanda, and I hope you have a great day.
You too. Thank you for having me.
Well, everyone, that's it for today's episode. Thanks so much for joining me. I'm going to put a link to the fundraiser in the description of this podcast. So if you've got a few bucks, please feel free to donate. If you don't, well, remember the nearest elderly person in your life. Think about them and go tell them hi. Let them know that they are not forgotten. Thanks very much, and until next time, keep a voluntary view.